Welcome to Toffee TV. I'm joined in the studio by Sarah Halpin for the first time in a very, very long time. Feels like, doesn't it? But then I suppose with lockdown and everything, you forget how long things have been.
Like my little sister, bless her, she was put on furlough. And she's just started back at her job, and she's made up because she's been like tearing her hair out, thinking what to do with herself, and it's been really challenging mentally. And she rang me the other day and said, "Oh, Sarah, I'm made up. I'm working again." She's going to the office next week, I think, but for the time being, she's like, and she went, "Do you know it's been 5 months?" Because I was with her when she got the call to say she was going to be furloughed. She was like, "That was 5 months ago," and I thought, bloody hell, wow, like. When you think of it in time like that, it's all just become one big merged, like hazy daydream. But 5 months, you're looking at like nearly half a year. It's mental.
I know.
Absolutely mental. But we're still here.
We're still here. And we're just going to have a chat about Everton's women's team, which I find the project very, very fascinating. Sarah is, of course, the roving reporter, the pitch side annoyance, I imagine.
The girls will back you on that one, I'm sure.
Social media, the lot when it comes to official as well. Official does it all for Everton ladies. Everton women. You can't call it Everton ladies. What is that like? What is that like going up and down the country with the team and being part of the setup?
Ped, as you know me, like fanatic Evertonian all my life. So to be in a position now where the club have gone to me, you can work with us and produce the content and media stuff and travel on the team, coach with the players and the management and that, and basically be a part of the team, because I know I'm not there every week through Finch Farm and that, but as far as match day and especially aways where we're away for the weekend, to be a part of that special team is just amazing, and I'll forever be grateful to Everton for allowing me to get involved, to be honest with you. But I think it's something that's worked out well for all parties involved, and I'm just loving it, mate, and it's something I've missed so badly. Well,
for me, you're the perfect candidate. You are fanatical. You massively want to be involved. You're massively passionate about it, and you love the women's game. So so that to me fits all those. Do you know what? You can have all this. You can keep all your degrees and your bells and whistles and your journalism school. Passion is what it's all about.
That's it, mate.
That's what it's all about.
It is, and you know me, heart on my sleeve, and that's it. And I just pinch myself all the time to be in positions that I'm in, but. I might be a bit of a rough diamond. I might not have all the press etiquette and stuff down to a T and this, that and the other. But what you will get, the same as yourself, is just raw passion, a genuine love for something. And I think that communicates with a certain audience that, you don't always necessarily know what you're going to get, but it's going to be authentic and it's going to be real, and it's probably going to be...
I think they definitely don't know what they're always going to get. I know that for a fact. It's been a bit of a weird spell for the women's game as well, because it really did take the brunt of what has happened with COVID, whereas men's football came back and played behind closed doors. Women's game went into hibernation essentially.
Yeah. And
due to things like the testing and that being affordable, the season was curtailed. Obviously it went by expected points, which meant Liverpool got relegated. I'm heartbroken on that front. But just tell us the situation with what happened to Everton with that.
Yeah, so we ended up finished in sixth position in the league due to expected points per game. And in my honest opinion, I think had the season been able to be played out as usual, I think we probably would have got that top four. That, in my opinion, I think Chelsea, Arsenal and Manchester City would get the top three, and then Everton would probably be the best of the rest. It wasn't to be. The last game that kind of done us over in that sense was we played Manchester United, and we lost to them at home in a frustrating game. But sixth place is not bad given where the team were the season before that, sort of not far off getting relegated, to be honest with you. And to now be in a position where sixth place, and now with the business the club have done over the summer, very, very much looking to improve on that and try and break that top three. try and knock one of them out of there. It's a big
Definitely.
ask, but you know, I think we've got the squad. We're starting to see the squad to do that now.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years it really has changed. And Willie Kirk came in, assistant manager at Manchester United. Obviously was probably promised a lot of things, that there was going to be an improvement. Players have started to come in. There was an improvement straight away last year. Although Everton lost their best player, didn't he?
Yeah, Chloe Kelly going over to Manchester City was obviously a massive blow, given that she's just a star, that girl. And I think anyone who watched her, you've seen the goals, absolute wonder goals. Her overall play, she's a proper baller. So it was never going to be in doubt that the biggest and the best were going to come chasing after her signature. I know Chloe really loves Everton, but I think at the position we were in at the time, not able, unfortunately, to offer European football. And in the women's game, I think it's quite different. You know, sometimes you feel you have to take these opportunities. Yeah. So that was a massive blow. Wish her all the best. But I think what Everton have done since then, and the announcing, and you know, other players like Hannah Kane and Nessa Cagman and Kirsty Lavelle, Taylor Hines, there've been a few outgoings, but the players of which we've brought in, I think has made up for that, and then some in that the fans can clearly see we're investing. We've brought in a lot of international players, well-known players from different countries, and I feel like our squad's gone up a level. Having so many internationals is a great thing, I think, as well.
Well, I've seen a lot. You know, we've seen the pictures of players coming in early. A lot of internationals, but then 3 or 4 weeks ago, I heard this rumor. I've seen this rumor on about Valerie Gouvon. I'm going to say it with the best French accent again. Gouvon. And it's because I'd watched the World Cup a couple of years ago, and I know you went over for it. I remember this girl's name, this lady's name, and I was like, if I remember this player's name, then she must have impressed me during the World Cup, and for Everton to be bringing it in, I thought that at first when I seen the rumour, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, but the fact that it actually happened, that's a brilliant buy and a real statements of intent for this Everton team moving forward.
Yeah, it's a belt in signing that, added to the other internationals, a couple of Danish internationals and Norwegian, England under 21 as well, Hayley Raso, Australian, but Govan, you're right, is a real standout. The stats of this girl are incredible, and as you said, she had a really impressive World Cup for France. Somebody that, as you say, if anyone watched the World Cup that mightn't necessarily follow women's football, I think she's one that when you see her, you're like, oh, that is the French striker. That was fantastic, and brilliant from Everton to get her in. And I think just the way other clubs and the press are talking surrounding the women's game about Everton now, I think everyone's really starting to take them more seriously. As you said, Willie Kirk's come in a couple of seasons ago, really done well to turn things around. But what you've seen, the club have obviously promised him investment, which has been delivered upon. I think we're starting to see Willie's team now. This is the team that he's been trying to build, and he'll be happy with the team that's now at his disposal and looking to build. Like the challenges that you've got now for each position, like is incredible. Nobody's guaranteed a game. That's something that we've been sorely lacking, and competition's going to be mental for places next season, which is what you want.
Yeah, definitely at any level. And I just, as mentioned before, I find the project really interesting because they brought in 6 players, haven't they? And they're all seem to be top players. The stadium, obviously, which Everton went into last season, only actually played 1 game.
Yeah.
And got beat.
We won't talk about that.
Nothing more Everton than that, is there? But the fact that they've got their own stadium, they're looking for their own sponsorship for the shirt as well, so their own investment. The whole thing is getting run by Alisher Usmanov's nephew.
Yes.
Which is really interesting.
Very interesting.
Savar.
Who I'm yet to meet, but very excited about his
I'm yet to meet him either, Sarah, so don't worry about it. But that's really interesting, and it just seems like it's a real, there's a real project happening there. Like Everton are obviously taking it serious, but doing it like I always felt like years ago almost like, and this is probably not right, but always felt like this, they're almost like Everton ladies, where it was an extension of like Everton the community.
Yeah.
Like it was just like a thing to have, like it was like a box ticking exercise.
Yeah.
And now it does feel like a proper thing, its own little entity, like they're putting money into it, like they built the stadium. You know, they're bringing quality players in, they want to compete, especially when the women's game is starting to take off and people are starting to invest in it. Obviously, there's the two leagues now. You've got teams like Manchester United who've only just really come into who've come into it in the last 2 or 3 years. They're putting money into it, and obviously we've got the big hitters of Manchester City, of Chelsea, of Arsenal, Man City bringing in players like Rose Lavelle, who's a real top US international. These are probably names that maybe people don't know, but
in the women's game,
they're like
cream of the crop.
Yeah, like they're massive, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Everton are trying to compete, and I just find that, like, I think a few people have made the joke about this. Someone's like, you know, Everton are bringing in all these players for the women's team, but bringing in none for the men's team.
Yeah.
Like, but I just find the whole thing quite interesting where it's going, because it's almost like saying, this is what we'd love to do with the men's team if we had like a blank piece of paper, but in the women's game, because there's no fees and that kind of thing, you're almost allowed to do that. And I think, you know, it's just going to be really interesting where it goes.
Yeah, it is. And as you say, I very much feel like Everton now, even changing the name from Everton Ladies last season to Everton FC Women or Everton Women FC, just to differentiate, of course, between the men's and the women's team. It's more all-inclusive. Of course, the fact that the women's team train and work at Finch Farm, I think is a massive thing. They've got Walton Hall Park now. You know, for when I first started working with Everton, all our home games were being played in Southport, which had a mega impact, as you'd expect, on spectators, etc. Now, I think season ticket holders, whoever, when it's, of course, safe for fans to come back, and my personal opinion, it'd be easier to start doing that with the women's teams than the men's, obviously, given the smaller attendances and stuff so far. But I think people are going to be wanting to go to Walton. You know, that's where a lot of our hardcore fan base are, in around North Liverpool and L4 and around Goodison and them ways. And to be able to walk there on a Sunday and take your kids, and a lot of the things we talk about, we complain about in modern day football, you know, the kind of massive gap, if you like, between the players and the fans, and it feels like they're in a totally different bubble. Whereas with the women, it's so great. You can stand up on the terraces, you can see, you're right up close to the pitch. They're getting stuck in, and they're people. You know, it's boss.
Well, the funny thing is, that's basically how you started. You were doing guerrilla journalism at the matches. You were going down, grabbing the players, and getting interviews with them, and then suddenly someone at Everton realised that maybe, you know, you could do that for them, which would make more sense. So that shows you. But no, it is like, there's no way I would ever have gone to Southport or up to Widnes to watch, you know, to watch.
It's a long way, isn't it?
It's a long way to almost like for something that you don't know what you're going to get. But let me just put, like, you know, a thing on that, is that I wouldn't go and watch the Everton under-23s in those places either.
100%.
So it's not like, I'm not just saying that because I wouldn't go all that way. When I was a lad, a lot of people got introduced to like Everton by going to Goodison to watch like the reserves.
Yeah.
And you'd watch sprinkling of kids and senior players. And that's how a lot of people got into it. I think that's been lost a little bit because we still have under 23 games, but they're not all the time, and obviously because it's under 23s now. But it is a good introduction into it, and I feel like with the ladies being at Walton Hall Park, and I genuinely hope that, not to rain on the parade of the women's team, but I hope like maybe the under 23s end up there as well, or some of the under 23 games end up there as well, because to make use of this like little mini stadium where players are close to the fans.
It's boss as well. It's a boss facility.
But I think that helps though.
Yeah, it does.
But I think the idea of, like, say, you know, someone who wants to get their daughter or their son into the game could take them up to Walton Hall Park, and, you know, kid may never have been to a game of football before, never been to see Everton before, and the next minute they're seeing a team, whether it be the Everton women's or the Everton men's, playing in the Everton kit, and you've got Z cars, and it's like that mini feel of like, you know. And what's great about that is as well, it's inclusive. You go to Goodison Park and it's like an under-23s game, and it's just a normal game.
Yeah.
There's not many people there, and you're stuck up in a stand, and I feel like...
You're miles away, aren't you?
Exactly, whereas I feel like when you go and watch these games, you're part of it, it's right there, the game is right there, you can reach out and touch it, and I think for a kid, can't be anything better than that. Surely there can't be anything than reaching out and touching, being right there, and listen, a kid's not going to know the difference. They're really not. And if that gets them to the love of Everton and the love of the game, and hopefully the men's teams and the women's team, then I think that's a brilliant thing. And so I think hopefully this season, once we are allowed to go, who's to say that going back to watch the women's team might be the only Everton team we might be able to watch? Who knows?
Yeah.
Because the talk is that they're going to open the stadiums up for non-league football, which would be similar. Mm-hmm. So surely they should be opening the women's game up. And if that means that people can go, you know what, I want my Everton fix, I'll go and watch the ladies, the women's team, then hopefully that happens, and hopefully that happens quite soon.
I hope so, Ped, and you're right as well. We talk about the business, the kind of lack of business thus far, touch wood, that'll change soon for the men's team. I think everyone is looking at the women's team, and there's genuinely something to really get excited about. Like, people are seeing these new players coming in and going, go on, I want to go and watch it. Hopefully people watch this today and heard you talking about Gavan and thinking, Ped doesn't really watch that much women's football, but he said this girl was boss. So do you know what? I'm not a massive fan, but I wouldn't mind checking them out or following some of the footage and at the start of the season. And yeah, just even things like you said, kids, you could take your kids to the game. Obviously, I know at the moment, no fans and social distancing measures, but when it's all safe to do so, these kids go and watch their heroes play every week, because they become their massive idols. And the girls are amazing with the kids. Exactly. All the time in the world. We'll talk to them about, what's going on with their team that this kid's playing for, what they should do, offer them advice, give them an ear, get a selfie with them. And these kids are just made up, and they've got all the time, because they know, often these girls, it's a relatively new thing, that being able to play football professionally and make a living out of it. When I was a kid, it was like, I played in a boys football team. To have these kids being able to see, this could be a career for you. When I was little, I used to want to play for Everton, but I didn't think I'd have been able to play for Everton. Little girls, and now you can go on and play for Everton and make a career out of it.
And the thing about it is, well, you have to separate the two sports as well. They are two different sports.
Yeah.
I think far too many people look at the women's game through the eyes of someone watching the men's game. We don't tend to do that for other sports. We don't tend to watch, say, athletics, the World Championships or the Olympics or whatever, and go, oh, why isn't she as fast as Usain Bolt or whatever? We understand physiology, we understand that.
Science,
yeah, we understand that. There's differences in the games, we understand the money also that's put into the men's game isn't put into the women's game.
Not even close.
Exactly, not even close. Not by a long shot. So, and I know, listen, in the last couple of years, there's been, since that World Cup, since Megan Rapinoe came out, and she sort of courted controversy by saying certain things, and then there was the court case saying that the women's US team should be earning more money than the men's team, and then loads of people took offence at that, even though the women's team
they win stuff,
make more money than the men's team, which, like, that's what I sort of couldn't understand. It was like, people were like, well, it's the men's team. Yeah, but the men's team are rubbish.
When was the last time the American men's team won anything?
Well, it's not even that they win anything, it's that the women's team can fill stadiums.
Yeah, exactly.
They fill stadiums.
They're so big over there, and that's not even a dig at the American men's team either, by the way. It's just like, there seems to be a problem with recognition of, they're representing, in what they do, they are representing their country at the highest level and winning it almost every time, and they're like,
and it's not even like people go, yeah, but the men's are so much harder than the women's. Well, I understand that, but the point being is, certainly on that case, the women are really, really good, and they are selling out stadiums. So financially, and they have their own shirts. And people, I think the women's shirt for the World Cup 2 years ago was the fastest selling shirt on the Nike website.
Wow.
For any shirt,
ever,
anywhere. Yeah,
there
like at the time. I don't know whether that's been bettered, but at the time. So in terms of money made, They deserve the money. But people took offence to that. How dare they ask for... And these are the things I just don't understand. Like, I don't quite understand why people have to have that outlook on things. Why can't you just go, that person really wants to play football? You know, imagine if they just went, well, actually, you know what? We're not having any women's football, but women can play in the men's game. Imagine the outrage if someone did that.
Honestly, this is the thing. I think some people just, for whatever, and I know it's not all people, and there'll probably even be some comments to me saying this, but there just are some people whose ego must be that fragile that they can't bear to see a woman playing football, earning money, doing well. How dare you? You're a woman. It's still such a big thing of like inequality. And I see posts all the time from people in the women's game, and sometimes I'll just click on the comments just to see some, and you would not believe the things people say, and they're like, no one cares, no one, but they're saying these utterly outrageous things. I'm like, well, you must care a little bit, sweetheart, because it's ruffled your feathers and you really seem to be having a stronger...
You're not allowed to call him sweetheart.
Do you know what I mean?
You're not allowed to call him sweetheart.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So there's all this, and I think that it's, you know, I think that people need to just get used to the fact it is a different thing. And as you said, people didn't go in the London 2012 Olympics go, oh, we're not Jessica Ennis, we're going to turn that off because she's a woman. Oh, she's one of God, who cares? She's a woman. Exactly. It's just obscene, and I think it's just such a old, like, fossilized way of thinking that, like, has to. Well, you say has to change. There's some people who just won't ever change their way of thinking. It will change because
everything changes. But I just think the game's on the up. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of space for it. There's plenty of space for it. That's why Everton want their own sponsor for the women's team. There's an audience for it. There's a growing audience for it, and let's hope that, like we said, if the women do get the chance to have spectators before the men's game, that us as fans utilise that and definitely go down and support them and get our little fix. Because why not? And if you can take a daughter or a granddaughter or a grandson and open them up to, or son, and open them up to the game and go, well, this is a game of footy and that's Everton. And that's why I think when they changed it from being Everton Ladies to just Everton, what that says is that we're just an all-inclusive club, and
just a different gender.
It's just a different gender, so just support them. So
and I don't go, I'm not supporting the men's team because they're men.
They're
men and I'm not a man. Like, it's like when you see men, they're birds, or they're women, like,
you can't say that.
You can't say birds, but this is what I mean. This is the kind of thing you say, I'm not watching them play footy, I'm not, and it's like, it doesn't work like that. Just, you know, and just, I guess, open your mind a little bit. Don't be such a crank about it, and actually give it a go, and you'd be surprised how much you enjoy it. Do you
know what the mad thing is, Sarah, right? If Everton did get successful and they did win a trophy, plenty of people would be there to see them win a trophy.
Of course they would.
If there was a final or something like down at you know...
Look at the derby was meant to be at Goodison. We'd sold out. The derby that was at Anfield.
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because I'd forgotten about that. That was, again, one of the real sad things of it, wasn't it? It was that whole build up to that Sunday. It was going to be a really big thing, and then it got called off, and
now we can't because they've been relegated.
I'm heartbroken by that.
Maybe we'll get them in the cup.
Yeah, maybe we'll get them in the cup. I'm heartbroken about that. No, so the first game is a week Sunday, is it?
Yes, it is, away at Bristol, which actually was the last away game we did in the FA Cup.
Oh, okay.
We won 5-0, so it's
the beginning of a brand new season, isn't it?
Beginning of a brand new WSL season.
Although the FA Cup is still last season's?
Yes, so that's just reminding me, actually. So
confusing.
We played Bristol in the FA Cup last season. We won 5-0, progressed, and we had a tasty tie against Chelsea Women for the quarter-final. Now the season obviously was ended early. However, that is going to go ahead. The FA Cup is going to go ahead. So Everton, I think, are playing Chelsea in last season's FA Cup quarter-final on the 26th of September at Walton Hall Park. So although we've got a very exciting season to look forward to, we've also got still the potential of some silverware. You know, Chelsea is going to be a big ask, but if we were to go through, we're looking at semi-final of the FA Cup, one game away from Wembley. So,
and this might be a stupid question. I don't know if you know the answer to it. Are we allowed to play on new signings?
Weirdly, right, this has been a kind of thing that's been causing a bit of frustration. I believe we can, but so Hayley Razzo and Izzy Christensen, we'd signed them in January, but they're both yet to play because they were injured. I believe they can definitely play, but I actually think our new signings can play as well, because otherwise a lot of teams, for example, I think Birmingham, like they've I don't even think they've got enough players to put a team together at the moment. So do you know what I mean? There's all this, there's been so much going on that I think, for me, I think they're going to have to, but that's honestly an answer I'll have to find out. I'll text.
Keep us updated.
I'll try. Yeah, I'll try.
So it starts a week on Sunday. There's I don't think there's any clarification yet of when fans will be allowed back in the stadiums. Really.
Not just yet, but it won't be for the first.
But I do know that the non-league teams in men's games are allowed people back in the stadium soon, I believe. Yeah. So I imagine there can't be much difference because of the stadiums the clubs play at. So just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for the Everton women's team. Hopefully it's going to be a great season. Hopefully it's going to be an historic season. Yeah. And, you know, just get behind them, support them.
Get behind them.
They wear the same kit.
They wear the same kit.
Do you know what I mean? If you've already got the Everton kit, you're basically halfway there.
Exactly. If you've got your season ticket as well, do you know what I mean? Also, I've just got to say, when they played City the other day, and because they haven't got the sponsor yet, they got to wear this kit without the kazoo thing on it, and just there's something without a sponsorless kit.
Yeah, it does look, especially that kit because it's such a traditional kit, looking kit.
Ball,
yeah. So although they did wear blue socks rather than
they did wear blue socks.
They look smart though. They look very smart.
Yeah, they did.
So just keep it out for all the news. There's like news all the time. They're like just signing players. It's like they've got Steve Walsh in charge. They're just signing players everywhere.
Well, that's where it
say no more.
Joke. That
was just a joke.
But no,
say no more.
I think like if you want to check out in the build up to the season, go on the club's website, look at the new signings that we've made. Loads of internationals, couple of youth England players as well. Obviously, Valerie Gavan. Just get to know the squad, because I think that gets you more excited as well when you do a bit of research into the team. You find out a little bit more about them, and
do you know what? If you get the chance to go to games, go. Definitely. Because you will be invested in it then. You will be invested in the team. 100%. You will be right there. There'll be an investment right in it because you'll be there. I think the problem with the women's game is that because the highlights are like shoved to like 11:30 on a Sunday night or whatever, and you're not really bothered. But I think if you can make that trip when you can make that trip to go and watch them, I think you'll be invested in it then. And once that Z card kicks off and the hairs in the back of your neck stand up and you're like, it's an Everton team, I think all those issues will just melt away, because listen, we've watched enough players from whatever level at Everton and we still support them. So you might just be pleasantly surprised, might turn up and go, it's Everton, let's see what happens. Yeah. And you could have a nice little cheap day out.
That's it, exactly. Get down when it's safe to do so. And I always make the point of, as fans, we're often disgruntled by feeling sometimes that, like, we care so much. And I think you can't, whether right or wrong, we often have this thing of, it feels like they don't care as much as us, which is, we're fans. But whenever you go and watch the girls, like, they care, let me tell you. And you can see in the way they play. And I feel, as an Evertonian, and the pride Evertonians get from seeing someone pull on that blue shirt and give it their all, you're going to get that every single time you go and watch the girls. And if that's not enough, then I don't know how to help you.
There you go. Keep an eye out. A week on Sunday. What date is that?
I think it's the 5th or 6th of September.
One
of them.
You might be watching this game after Sunday. Yeah, it's like. It's the first Sunday in September, which is like I'm going to say the 6th.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So keep it out for Everton's women's team. Get behind them, and hopefully we'll have Sarah in during the season to give us more information, and let's get excited. Let's get excited about the team. There you go. Make sure you check Sarah out on her channel as well. I'll put a link in the description to her channel. Check that out. Give us this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more great videos, join us over on Patreon. See you later.